What is your why? Not your boyfriend's why, not your cousin's why, not your best friend that you feel you're secretly competing with's why. No. What is your why? You are tuned into episode 2 of my first ever vlog series where I will be taking you through behind the scenes of my 3rd round of plastic surgery. I'm so excited to share with you guys all of the ins and outs, and I'm hoping that if you are someone that is possibly interested in elective surgery and you're just not sure like how to start, what do I do, what comes first, what comes next, you've definitely tuned into the right place. Make sure you subscribe and make sure you share with a friend and tell a friend to tell a friend, because I will be giving you all the tea. Okay, so in this episode, I'm going to be sharing with you what must be done first before you even think about locking down a surgeon. I have my phone here because I want to make sure I include everything for you. The first thing you want to remember is that this is not a race. This is not a race. Take your time, do your research. This is your life. Take your time. There is no reason why you need to have it done in 2 months, and so you need to make a decision on how you're going to afford it, what the surgeon's going to be, who's going to go with you, and all of these different decisions. There's so many variables to consider. Take your time. Do your research so that you can stand behind your decision with conviction. And then you won't easily be swayed, and you won't have 7, 8, 9 deposits with all these different surgeons. You will have just one because you took your time to make your decision. Okay? So the first step before you do anything, if you think, you know what, and there could be many different variables. You could say, you know what, I just lost all this weight. You know, I just want to, tighten up certain areas. And of course, as we know, for those of you that have been fit, going through a fitness journey just like myself, it's not only weight loss. My weight loss journey incorporated into that was a heavy piece of fitness, right? So you can't spot lose. You can't say, oh, my waist is perfect, my butt is perfect, I just want to lose in my arms. We all know that is not possible. You cannot spot lose. Don't let people fool you, okay? So now you say, all right, you know what? I feel like I've worked out my body. I feel like I like where I am, but maybe I just want to get a little lipo on my arms, or I want to get a little lipo on my legs. Whatever the decision is, the first thing you're going to do is go and get a physical with full blood work. Here is why. You want to make sure you are very clear on where your current medical condition stands. Meaning, if you have pre-existing conditions, for example, for myself, I have hyperthyroidism, which means it's an overactive thyroid. When I decided I'm going to have a 3rd round of surgery, you know what I said? First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go get a full thyroid function test. Meaning I'm getting all my thyroid work. I think it's 4 different tests that are done. I want a full thyroid function test so that I can make sure I know where I'm standing. Am I out of range in areas? Am I within range in any areas? And if I find that out, which I did, it's fine. There's no need to panic. The next step is you talk with your doctor about what are my steps to make sure that I can get within range. Okay? Then you're going to talk to your PCP about the fact that you're interested in having surgery. That should be the first person you're telling, okay? Because you want to talk to them about, am I a good candidate? Medically, am I a good candidate? You're not asking their opinion on whether or not they think you should have a breast augmentation, because quite frankly, that is not for them to decide. That is for you. The question you're asking is, am I a good, based on my blood work, am I a good candidate, okay, for having plastics or an elective procedure, right? Or plastic surgery, however you want to refer to it, okay? The other thing you want to find out from your PCP, which brings me to number 2, is you need to know what your BMI is. Your BMI is very important. Your BMI is going to allow you to have an idea of where you currently stand weight-wise. Because as you know, I'm sure you hear surgeons talk about it all the time. Some surgeons may say, you cannot, my BMI max is 37. My BMI max is 33. Every surgeon has a different number. They're not all the same. If you find out that you are, let's say, a BMI of 35, add that to your criteria when you're looking for the surgeon of choice, because you know you need to know what is this particular surgeon's BMI range, okay? If you're on the smaller side, perhaps the BMI minimum, because surgeons have a minimum as well, because if you want to have good results or optimal results with something like a BBL, for example, they have to have something to work with, right? So you want to know what's their range, not just what's their max, right? So they may say it's 27 to 35. If you know that and you are at a 36, it's good to know from the onset, because that lets you know you have some work to do. And what I would suggest is, and we'll talk about the surgeon limits later on, but if you know that you're a 36, okay, and you find a surgeon you want and their max is 34, you have some work to do. And you don't want to say, okay, I'm trying to get to the goal of 34. You want to try to get to the goal of like 33 point something. Okay, because you want to be within range. You don't want to be right at their max, because anything could happen if you get down there. And I'm telling you, it's happened to me every time. Every single round, for some reason, I get my period on the morning of or the night before, and it's the stress, right? And we all know that ends up having our weight fluctuate. Our weight will fluctuate as a result. You don't want to end up being over, and then now you can't have that surgery. Okay, so first things first, you're gonna go see your PCP. Second thing, you've got to get your BMI and you need to document it. Okay, the third thing you need is to consider your why. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? This is very important, because I've heard a lot of women confide in me and say, oh, well, you know, I'm in a relationship, it's not going so well, I'm gaining weight, I'm hoping that if I get a plastic procedure, which is, no, I am not judging people who've told me that. There is no judgment there. But I would definitely discourage them, because you should not be getting something to make someone happy. My boyfriend or my girlfriend thinks I need bigger breasts, or my boyfriend makes fun of my butt all the time. So because of that, do you want it? What is your why? Not your boyfriend's why, not your cousin's why, not your best friend that you feel you're secretly competing with's why. No, what is your why? And when you figure out what your why is, you document that, because it is going to be a very long road to figuring out a surgeon, having your surgery, and post-op. And this is something you want to refer back to. All right, so always think about what is my why and make sure you document it. All right, so the next thing we're going to get into, which is number 4, is what procedures are you interested in getting? What is it that you want to change about yourself? I remember, I smiled because I remember there was a show called Nip Tuck, and the first thing they would ask is, tell me what you don't like about yourself, right? So you stand in the mirror and you figure out what is it that you would like to improve. I don't like to say what I don't like about myself, but what areas would I like to improve? Do I want bigger breasts? Do I want to get rid of my double or triple chin? Do I want to have a narrower nose? Whatever it may be, write those things down, okay? And then you're going to determine what is it that you want to actually get done, okay? Once you figure that out, you're going to get to number 5, which is choosing realistic wish pics. Sis, if you are 300 pounds, and I'm not judging you because I was 350, so you ain't got nothing on me. If you were 300 pounds, you should not be looking at a wish pic that looks like Ariana Grande. No judgment to her. She's a very slim person. But sis, you're not gonna get there with no plastic surgery. No plastic surgeon's going to get you in one round from 300 pounds to Ariana Grande. That's just not going to happen. You have to be realistic. As a matter of fact, I remember my first wish pic, and I will see if I can find it. I don't remember her name, but Lisa Ray's daughter, who's a plus size model. I don't know if she still is, but at the time she was. She was my wish pic. Okay, so I wasn't looking at someone that was a size 4, and I'll place it up here if I can find it. I wasn't looking for someone that was a size 4 because I, at the time, had lost quite a bit of weight. As I told you, I had lap band first, But I wasn't going to fool myself and say, oh, I'm going to go from a size, I think at the time I was maybe a size 16, or I think I was about a 16. I'm not going to go from a 16 to a 2. I'm looking to go from a 16 to maybe a 12. That's realistic. So make sure when you choose your wish picks, guys, that they are realistic, okay? The other part is number 6. Are you choosing to stay within town, or are you planning to travel out of town for your procedure? You may not know the answer to that yet, but some people may say, no, I want to stay home. I want to do this in, like, for example, I live in Atlanta. I want to make sure I find a surgeon in Atlanta or one of the neighboring towns, right? I'm going to be home for my surgery. Some people may say, I'm open to having my procedure out of the country or in another state. Think about that first before you even think about a surgeon, because then that will allow you to determine what the footprint is as far as limitations to what type of surgeons you're looking at. The other thing you want to think about is your budget. That's huge, especially, and that's kind of coupled along with the in town or out of town, because with your budget, you need to think about, there's 3 phases here. Pre-op, there are costs, and I will go into much more detail further along, but just at high level, for pre-op, you have to consider going to, I don't know if you have medical care, right? If you do have medical coverage right now, you still will need to consider if you have a high deductible or copay, what have you. But you need to go see your PCP. You need to get full blood work. If there's anything wrong and you need to check back in a month, you've got to consider the costs of that. You've got to consider costs of medication or whatever, vitamins in preparation for your surgeon. You've got to consider your deposit for your surgeon. You also need to consider any of the supplies that you'll be purchasing in preparation for your procedure. That's pre-op. And there's some other things that I may have forgotten, but that's just high level. For the actual surgery, you'll need to pay for the procedure. If it's going to be out of town, you need to pay for travel, right? You've got to pay for, are you going to have an overnight nurse? If you just elect, if you're out of town, are you going to have an overnight nurse? Or are you typically if you have an overnight nurse, that's going to be along with an Airbnb, right? So, or maybe you're staying somewhere, wherever you're going to be staying. What are the costs there? If you're doing a recovery home, then typically you don't need an overnight nurse unless you're out of the country. For example, when I had my surgery in the Dominican Republic, I needed to have a recovery home, but I also needed an overnight nurse in the hospital. Okay, you've got to budget for that as well. If you're staying in town, you may still need an overnight nurse if you don't have anyone, or maybe a nurse for the next couple days post-op, because you may not have anyone to support you post-op and you need someone to support you. Okay, so you've got to consider those costs. Post-op care, you need to consider the supplies you need for that. You also need to consider your garments. You also need to consider lymphatic massages. And lymphatic massages, to me, in my opinion, to get the best results, this is just my opinion. I am not a surgeon. You will always check in with your surgeon for confirmation, but you should be doing that for at minimum 8 weeks post-op. Minimum, if you want to get the best results. And some people even go longer, where they may do like infrared therapy or the wood therapy, which is like way after, right? And infrared could be done before 8 weeks, but that's just some examples, okay? So these are the things that you need to consider when you're thinking about budget. A lot of people think, oh, I just need to think about how much my surgery is going to cost. I will be honest with you, the actual procedures, that cost is maybe only about, I'd say 50% of your surgery or 60% of your surgery budget. The rest is going to be medical care costs, post-op, garments, massages, things of that nature. So you need to be prepared to make sure that you have a budget that's inclusive of that. Okay, so the last thing is FMLA, okay? If you are currently working and you're not an entrepreneur, typically you may be preparing to go on family medical leave of absence, okay? If you are doing FMLA, you need to, before you even sign up for a surgeon, okay, I would suggest reaching out to your HR rep and asking what the steps are. What is the procedure? Just because you do have FMLA at your job, that doesn't mean, okay, well, I know I have FMLA and I'll qualify for it, so I'm all set. Yes, if you're having surgery, you will qualify for FMLA in most instances. Again, check with your HR rep. But it's much more than that, okay? 9 out of 10, it is a shitload of paperwork, and you have to be prepared to have that all filled out and prepared prior to surgery. And this is a question you want to ask your surgeon to make sure that they'll be able to sign the necessary documents so that you can qualify for your FMLA. All of this should be researched before we even sign on the dotted line with the surgeon. Okay? All right, so we have 8 items that I talked to you about today. These are the things that you need to think about before you even talk about how to choose a surgeon, which is coming in episode 3. We'll be talking about how to choose a surgeon. I'm going to tell you all the details of what you need. I hope you're enjoying this vlog series so far, or this series so far. The vlog portion is going to come in a little bit when we actually have the surgery and pre and post-op and stuff. I'll take you through that. But for now, episode 1, I talked to you about the 3 procedures I'm interested in. This episode, I talked to you about what you have to do before you even think about choosing a surgeon. And in episode 3, I'm going to be talking to you about what you need in order to choose the right surgeon, the steps to take to choose the right surgeon, okay? If you are enjoying this series so far, show us some love in the comments. I appreciate you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to head on over to Instagram and TikTok. Show us some love there. We appreciate you guys so much for watching. Drop some questions in the comments so I can make sure I include that in any of the content that I include within this series. I appreciate you guys so much for watching. Until next time.
You say that I don't care about you, but not anymore, 'cause you forgot about us.